There's so much vital work that needs to be done in order to create a more peaceful world. This piece in Common Dreams by Code Pink co-founder Medea Benjamin and author Nicholas J.S. Davies outlines 10 foreign policy fiascos that Joe Biden could fix on day one. And keep in mind, when we turn away from these foreign policy fiascos, Biden would free up billions in federal dollars that could be redirected towards human needs and environmental crises. Number 1, end the United States' role in the Saudi-led war in Yemen and restore humanitarian aid to Yemen. Congress already passed a War Powers Resolution to end the U.S. role in the Yemen war, but Trump vetoed it. Why did he do this? Because he prioritizes war machine profits and has a cozy relationship with the horrific Saudi dictatorship. Biden should immediately issue an executive order that ends every aspect of the U.S.'s role in the war based on the legislation that Trump vetoed. The U.S. should also accept its responsibility in what many have called the greatest humanitarian crisis in the world today. And we shouldn't stop there. We should help to feed the people and to restore the devastated country. Number 2, Joe Biden should suspend all arms sales and transfers to Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. Both of those countries are responsible for massacring civilians in Yemen. And the UAE is reportedly the largest weapons supplier to rebel forces in Libya. Of course, Trump vetoed the Yemen War Powers Act. Then he struck an arms deal worth $24 billion between the UAE, the US, and Israel, which he absurdly tried to pass off as a peace agreement. Plus, the arms deals already broke at least 2 laws. The Leahy Law that prohibits the U.S. from providing military assistance to foreign security forces that commit gross violations of human rights, and the Arms Export Control Act, which states that countries must use imported U.S. weapons only for legitimate self-defense. Biden should be taking a close look at the legality of the deals Trump made, with an eye towards making deals like these illegal in the future. Number 3, rejoin the JCPOA or the Iran nuclear deal. And to be clear, Trump didn't just leave a treaty. He assassinated one of their generals, he threatened to take them to war, and he imposed even more sanctions on the country that only hurts the Iranian people. Joe Biden needs to immediately rejoin the JCPOA, lift the economic sanctions that are only hurting the Iranian people, and allow the $5 billion IMF loan the country desperately needs to handle the COVID crisis. Number 4, Joe Biden needs to end U.S. threats and sanctions against officials at the International Criminal Court. The U.S. should ratify the Rome Statute of the ICC. Biden could submit it to the Senate, and we would be able to join 120 other countries as official members of the ICC. We should also accept the jurisdiction of the court, which the U.S. rejected after they convicted the U.S. of aggression and ordered us to pay reparations to Nicaragua in 1986. Number 5, Joe Biden should back President Moon's diplomacy for a permanent peace regime in Korea. The Biden administration should start right away negotiating to bring a formal end to the Korean War. He should initiate confidence-building measures like opening liaison offices, easing sanctions, facilitating reunions between Korean American and North Korean families, and halting U.S.-South Korea military exercises. Negotiations must include concrete commitments to non-aggression from the United States. That is the only path to a denuclearized Korean peninsula and the reconciliation the Korean people deserve. Number 6, renew the New START treaty with Russia and freeze the $1 trillion new nuke plan. On day 1, he should recommit to this Obama-era treaty, which capped Russia and the U.S.'s nuclear arsenals at 1,550 warheads apiece. He can also freeze Trump and Obama's plans to spend $1 trillion on a new generation of nuclear weapons. Biden should also formally adopt a no first use policy towards nuclear weapons, which most of the rest of the world already has or has gone farther. And lastly, for this point, but maybe the most important one, Biden can begin the conversation with other world leaders of actually eliminating nuclear weapons, which is a conversation that is long overdue. Number 7, the US needs to lift illegal unilateral sanctions against countries. Some sanctions are legal, but the ones that starve people and prevent them from getting the medicine they need to survive are not. U.S. sanctions on countries like Iran, Venezuela, Cuba, Nicaragua, North Korea, and Syria are a form of economic warfare. UN special reporters have condemned them as crimes against humanity and compared them to medieval sieges. Since most of these sanctions were imposed by executive order, a President Biden could remove them the same way on day one. Number 8, roll back all of Trump's policies on Cuba and get back to normalizing relations with the country. After Obama started normalizing relationships, Trump sanctioned Cuba's tourism and energy industries, blocking coronavirus aid shipments, restricting remittances to family members, and sabotaging Cuba's international medical missions, which are a major source of income for its health system. There's a lot of things Biden can do on his own to help normalize relations with Cuba. He could begin working with the Cuban government to allow the return of diplomats to their respective embassies, lift all restrictions on remittances, remove Cuba from the list of countries that are not U.S. partners against terrorism, cancel the portion of the Helms-Burton Act that allows Americans to sue companies that use property seized by the Cuban government 60 years ago, and collaborate with Cuban health professionals in the fight against COVID-19. Number 9, restore pre-2015 rules of engagement to spare civilian lives. Here's a gem from the Obama era. The Obama administration loosened military rules of engagement to let U.S. commanders in the Middle East order airstrikes that were expected to kill up to 10 civilians without prior approval from Washington. Trump reportedly loosened the rules even further, but details were never made public. Cool. Iraqi Kurdish intelligence reports counted 40,000 civilians killed in the assault on Mosul alone. Biden could reset these rules and start killing fewer civilians on day one. He should do that shit. A President Biden has the chance to do something truly incredible and actually end all of these wasteful, useless wars. That's why he should set a date, no later than a year from now, December 2021, when every troop in every combat zone comes back home. That policy won't be popular among war profiteers and the military-industrial complex, but it will be popular among regular people and the people in Afghanistan and Syria and Iraq and Somalia. Number 10, Joe Biden could freeze military spending and launch a major initiative to reduce it. The military-industrial complex exploited the crimes of 9/11 to launch themselves deeper into a one-sided arms race that has resulted in the United States spending 45% of all dollars on world military supplies between 2003 and 2011. And now the military-industrial complex is trying to push Biden into cold wars with, once again, Russia and now China, with perceived threats from these countries being all we need to reason continuing to spend astronomical amounts of money on the military and defense. Biden should dial down the conflicts with Russia and China and reinvest that money domestically. He could start with a 10% cut to the Pentagon that was supported this year by 93 House representatives and 23 senators. And he could also look a lot deeper, like Barbara Lee's $350 billion cut to the Pentagon, which amounts to the 50% peace dividend we were all promised after the Cold War. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please let me know in the comments below if there's anything else you think Joe Biden should do related to foreign policy on day one. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel so we can continue making videos like this.